Hey there, welcome to another tutorial about S4 League. Today we're going to be going over how to add new weapon skins. So, I've got an example mod here. We're going to go ahead and extract this. It's a skin for the plasma sword. It's got a couple different things in here, including a bunch of different color variations, so we'll be covering that. So, without getting too far ahead of ourselves here, we're going to go back here. And first things first, as per usual, we're going to want to load our resource tool, that's Sphere Explorer, which I've got over here. Now, adding skins and costume pieces, generally not that difficult compared to some of the other tutorials here. It's fairly straightforward, so let's go ahead and get to it. So first things first, we're going to want to extract our mod, which I've already done here. And inside of it, we've got the model folder and the image folder. So we're just going to come here, open resources. And the first thing we're going to want to do is drag these new files into the game. So we're going to open image, weapon, and we're going to drag the new icons in. Alright, next thing we're going to do is open model, weapon. This has the model data and the textures and everything, so we're just going to put that into the same location here. Go back to the resources folder, model, weapon, and just drag this right in. That's the easy part of things done. Now we're going to move on to the XMLs and some of the scripts and files you need to change. So, not too bad. Weapons do have an extra step over costume pieces. We're going to cover that. But like both of them, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to want to get item info. We're just going to pull that out here. Now for weapons you need two additional files. You need weapon and weapon Lua. We're just going to grab both of these and pull them out here as well. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open item info and start with that. Now, first thing we're going to want to do is search for plasma sword. Right. Sword.scn, there we go. That'll bring us where we need to be. We can see the first entry for the melee weapon subcategory. Now what we want to do is scroll down to the end of this. Well, actually first we want to copy this entry, so let me just make sure this is the right one. Since this is just a skin, we want to keep all of the same stats as the existing weapon. I believe 0 is the training sword, so in our case we just want to grab 1. I mean, it really doesn't matter either way, but just so we have a clean base to start off of, we're going to copy this. We're going to go all the way to the bottom until we see the changeover into guns. So that's when the subcategory ends. This is here from the last tutorial, and this is the end of the melee weapons. As you can see, we have the submachine gun in the next category, which is for guns. So we're just going to add this here. And what you want to do is you want to increment based off of the last number. So in my case, I added a custom weapon that had some very high ID numbers due to coming from a different client. In our case, we could just do, say, like 12, 13, something like that, but just to make sure that nothing is crossing any boundaries and everything is all clean, we're going to just do another high number here and increment based off the last entries. So it'll be 613. which we also want to replace the name. We will get to that in a little bit. But preemptively, just so that I have an item ID to work with, I'm going to copy this and replace this. And we're just going to call this 613 for now, and we'll attach a proper name to it later. Now, another thing that you want to do while you're in here is you want to change the icon images, you know, if you have like a custom crosshair or something, anything related to that, and also the SCN, because we do want to change the model file that this is using, obviously, since this is a new weapon. So we're going to go into here. We're going to go back into the model folder. Rename this. And we're just going to insert that name here. And same for the icons. Just copy that. Change the icon everywhere it's present. So in this case, here, also here. Alright, so we've gone ahead and set this name key, which we'll be reusing soon. For the time being, though, let's go ahead and get those other files open. We'll be adding an entry in weapon.x7 and weapon Lua. So we'll do weapon.x7 next. And save our changes in item info. And for this, we're just going to change this to although this is not the display name, that's what this name key is for. This is just internal. A plasma sword right over here. This is the code for the very first plasma sword. We can go ahead and add that here. Formatting got a bit screwy. There we go. And we want that ID to match the ID that we set earlier, so instead of 612, we're going to do 613. Now all the same things from item info are going to get copied over things that need to change. So the icon and slot IDs, just going to go ahead and change the slot icon here. And the SCN here. Which we'll replace here. Now the model is replaced, the icon is replaced, and all the stats are the same. Now we just need to link up the animations to this new item, and then change the naming, and we'll be good to go. So we're going to save our changes to weapon X7, move back over, do weapon Lua, so this basically binds the item IDs to every single animation piece of weapon scripting, all of it. So what we want to do for this is just like before, here's the machine guns. So we're just going to add an entry here and we're going to look for the ID that the plasma sword has. Since the plasma sword is 1, it's going to be 200001. So we're just going to search for this. And the section for plasma sword is all right here. So we're going to take every instance of 200001. We're going to go down to the end of the swords, add that here, and now we're just going to change every instance of this. So since ours is 613, I'm going to copy that and just increment it into each. Alright, with all of those pasted in, now they're all tied to the same animation states. We can save this, and that's it for Weapon Lua. We do want to keep this open for the time being though, because there is an additional file that we need, and that is just for the name. So we're going to go over to language, and we're going to go to XML, item info string table. Now this has all of the string data, so name, description, etc., any text related to the entry for the weapon. We're going to look for plasma sword. That's a tip key, that's a description key. We're going to just search for a bit until we find the name, which might be further up. Let's see. Here we go. So this is an entry for the training plasma sword. And then the regular plasma sword is right here. So we are just going to copy this. It really doesn't matter where we add this. But because the katana is incremented here, just do the same thing as before. Take this. Now that name key we said earlier, this, the N200001 or 613, we're just going to go ahead and take this, copy this, and that is going to be our name key for this new weapon. So now we're just going to change every instance of the name, which is just going to be heavy cutter plasma sword. And we're just going to go ahead and copy this to each slot for all the languages. And then save that. And that's all we need. So now we're going to go ahead and move all that stuff client side, starting with the item info string table, which remember is inside of language XML. We're going to drag that over, replace. We're now going to go to the regular XML folder. We're going to take weapon lua.x7, weapon x7, and item info, and they're all going to go in the main XML folder. And we want to replace all of these. We also have to transfer some of these server side, so we're going to go ahead and do that now. So first off, item info. Let's open our server folder. And we'll replace the item info in here with the one from the mod folder. Next, we also need to replace the language string, the item info string table. So this is also now added server side. Alright, so now the only step left is that we simply need to add the entries to the database. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. So we're going to open our local database, go to game, and we're going to go to item infos first. Scroll to the very bottom. And now, since we already defined an item ID earlier, we are going to copy that. We can just simply get that from either the name key and exclude the N, or we can just go into weapon X7 and copy the item key right here. So we're going to do that to make things simple. And go ahead and add an entry for it. So we're going to increment this 10, 4, 4. All of this is going to match. Price group ID just determines where you want it placed. If you want to have the option to select multiple colors, you always want it placed in the premium tab, which is what price group ID 2 is. Effect group ID basically means, you know, what sort of bonus effects are tied to it. For weapons, we don't want any extra stats on them, so we just set it to 1. Discount percentage is 0, it doesn't really matter, that's up to you. And then 1 for is enabled will allow it to be displayed in the shop. So we're going to go ahead and accept that. Now we go to shop items. Scroll to the bottom. Now what we want to do is paste the ID that we pasted earlier and input the information. So required gender is 0 because it's a weapon. Required license is 0. Now we need to check the mod real quick and see how many colors this thing came with. Let's see, icon is always the easiest way to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because this works with one color, basically meaning 2, what we want to do is set this to 4. Because 0 is 1 in the way that this is counted. Unique colors, we want 0. This is something separate from what it seems like. We don't want to mess with that. Required level 0, we don't want to level lock it. Same with level limit. Same with this. One-time use, no. Is destroyable, yes. This just determines whether or not you can sell it back. Alright, we're going to go ahead and accept those changes. That added to the database, there's only one thing left, and that's that we want to go to shop version. And we simply want to increment this by 1 so that this will be updated now when we launch the game. And we can go ahead and do just that. Okay, there we go. And as you can see, our newly added weapon is in the shop. So that concludes adding custom weapon skins.